Alright, I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. I'm not going to do any splash screens. We're going to get right to it. In my opinion, this is definitely meant more for a musician. However, you can use a mode on here, I'll get into it a little bit later, called MTR or multi-track recording. And it can be really useful for doing multiple scenes, having multiple tracks right on here and recording those separately. But if you go into the manual on this, and I'll go ahead and bring up, I believe it's page 2 on the manual, straight from Zoom, this is what you'll see. So it's definitely meant for musicians. It has some tuning options, a metronome, just several things that would definitely be more meant for a musician. It's definitely small enough to take anywhere. You can throw it in your gig bag, so it'd be perfect for musicians. And it has options for the 440, which most guitar players or most bass players, most musicians would know. 440 scale is like tuning your guitar normal, so keep that in mind. And I'm going to go over a couple of things really quick right off, because now mine's a little beat up, but I'll show you on the bottom here. Yeah, it's a little beat up down there, but that little barrel adapter, the power, it's a positive 5 volt 1 amp. So if you're looking for that, look no more. There you go. It's a positive 5 volt 1 amp barrel adapter, and that's all you'll need to power it if that's what you're looking for. And another thing I did want to hit on right off is that you can put up to 32 gigs, and I haven't actually tried it, but I heard if you put more than a 32 gigabyte SD card's what I'm talking about, right there where the slot is, if you put over that, it won't recognize your card. I haven't tried it. A lot of times in electronics I've come across things that are really sensitive on how they're formatted, but again, I haven't checked that out. That's something I'll do maybe in the future video. Now, to power this thing up, to it right here. Okay, there's a little picture. You can see my little red arrow I drew on that page. Now, you go in and you actually just hold it for a second down in the power mode right there, and just slide it down, hold it for just a second, it'll start booting up. You won't even see it. There's no like backlight on that exact thing, but it will be booting up, and then a little Z will go through it, and then the backlight will kick on, then you'll see it. So if you're just getting one of these, realize that battery life in this, in my opinion, I've heard people didn't like it, but I've used big mixers on movie sets, and those have really poor battery life. The manual says 6 hours. Obviously, unless you have some special battery I'm unaware of, then you're looking, your 6 hours really like 2 or 3 hours. But it is pretty good battery life. I'm pretty satisfied with those. A quick little hint that's a little bit off subject, but batteries generally, I've found if you go to Aldi's, they have actually pretty good batteries, because we were using batteries probably 30 a day of the AA's, and they did carry AA's there in larger packs. I believe they were $4 for like a 24 pack, and they're really good batteries. So there's a little extra hint for you. But anyway, let's get back to this here. I wanted to go, and I'm kind of cheating here a little bit, showing you this manual here. But this here, I'll go ahead and bring that up a little bit bigger. I wanted to show you that right on this manual, it should show you the jog wheel. If you can see where the little jog wheel is, and that's right above the menu button. I believe it's labeled as dial on the screen there, but that little jog button does double as not only a wheel, but it's also a button. So make sure you keep that in mind. It's a selection button. So your menu button itself, you push to get to the menu. You turn your jog wheel and you push in your jog wheel as a button to select your options in there. So keep that in mind. That's just a little quick heads up there. That way you don't get jumbled up, or you don't spend a lot of time on that. Now, another picture I wanted to bring up here and tell you this right off as well. There's a little stamina button on the back here, and a lot of people don't realize if you use that, you're going to limit your quality on your recordings. I would recommend just pay the extra money for the batteries, put the extra batteries in. I wouldn't use that at all. You don't want anything limiting your recording, especially if you're using it for anything really, unless you're wanting a radio sound or something like that, and you're happy with that, which I doubt most people would be. Don't even use that little button there called stamina. Just leave that off, don't touch it. Now there is one thing I did want to go ahead and get back on this picture here before I do show you the actual device itself. Now there's it says right panel above the picture that I'm looking at on here, and it's the record level. This is the H4N, not the H4N Pro. Now the H4N had weaker input preamps, so that preamp, you need that record level set. Pretty much the same thing on everything I've recorded on, at least. You will want to be mindful. Of course, you're going to record at negative, negative 12 to negative 6, right in there is where you record on these little portable recorders. So keep that in mind. But it's the record level there, when you set it, you might just set it to 85 and just kind of leave it, and you can kind of tinker with that, if you're especially if you're spiking or peaking somewhere, or you're not getting the levels that you need. But I'm pretty sure you'll probably find the same thing if you set your equipment pretty standard. I think 85 would actually be the recording level that you would go to. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull this back up for one more little thing I did want to show you here. Now it's the picture all the way to the right. There is, I believe it's your right, yeah. Anyhow, the XLR, those are on the bottom of this. That's going to be your best recording quality. Actually, they're combo jacks, I should say. But your XLRs, them are what you're going to want to use for this thing. If you're really unaware, if you look at the other two pictures that show the little mics, the little cap mics on top, in my opinion, those are not very good on this. Some people actually said they like them. I thought they were pretty terrible. They might be good for ambience. I haven't really used it too much for that. But I'm going to go ahead and flip this camera around, get it right here on the recorder, and we'll go in a little bit more detail. I'm going to try and do this best I can with my little GoPro because I don't have a camera set up in here. So let's go ahead and get right into this. There's the front buttons. This is a mic button, in case you can't see the partially scratched off lettering on there. There's a number 1 and a number 2. Number 1 and 2 goes to those respectively. Left number 1, right number 2. So let's go ahead and set that back down. Okay, and then we can turn those off and on, change the levels in that. we go to the side, mine unfortunately has been through a little bit, so there's no door. There's usually a door for the SD card there. There's your record levels. That'll affect that directly on the screen. You'll be able to see that. It's the one I think you should probably set at about 85. That's where I record most of my things. There's a menu button here. It's a little jog wheel. You can toggle it up and down and all around. And it also works as a select button. So if we get to the screen right here, go directly into the menu, and we go to this screen here. Now the first thing you'll see is your folder. That just sets all your folders and files up, and then you have a file. You can go to different files and play those directly. Now your input settings, I wanted to go actually in here and show you your low cut filter. It's like a noise filter pretty much. Compression limiter, your compressor limiter is, I would say, helpful if you're clipping a lot. You want to set those. If we go actually inside of those, now the compressor here on the mic is off. Your mic is your top mics up here, and your input, of course, is where your combo jacks or your XLR jacks there are. Now you just hit menu to go back, and it'll bring you back to the same selection area. You have your monitoring that can be on or off. It's a auto level, MS matrix. There's just more options in there. I'm really not sure what that does. I haven't went that far in. Phantom is if you want to set your 24 or 48 volt phantom power, where you can power, of course. I would use it for shotgun mics, but you can use it for a number of mics that use phantom power. Just don't use it if you don't need it in a mic. You can burn those up. And let's go back, and you got your record options. Really struggling to do this one-handedly. Or one-handed, I should say. Your record format, you can go in and choose your different record formats. Now you do have your 16 and 24 bit, and you can choose your 44.1 or 48 kilohertz. This does not go to 96, I believe. It doesn't go to that. This is the H4N. Auto record, you can have it to automatically record. I believe it's for when you first start talking, you want it to record automatically when it hears something. You can do that. Pre-record is something I haven't went over on this yet, but you have a record button here, of course. You push that and it'll light up, but it's not actually recording yet. So you leave that on, and then you push it when you're ready to start actually rolling the dial and start recording. Now your pre-record will go back 2 seconds and record everything that it heard 2 seconds prior, so it had actually started recording before you hit the record button to start up the recording. Now the problem with that is it uses a ton of battery life, and you probably don't want to use that unless you really have to. So we're just going to go back and get out of recording. You have tools. Now, yeah, this is where it gets in real heavy on the musician uses. You got your tuner, and if you go in there, you can calibrate where the tuning is. 440 is your regular guitar tuning. If you tune your guitar what they call regular, and then you can also go in, you can drop D or I don't know, they got so many tunings these days. You can go in and actually label each specific string and how you want that recorded. So you can use that. That's kind of nice to add in on an extra feature, especially if you're about to record and you're an artist. You're going to want your tuning in. Chromatic. Have I been? Okay, that's just a regular tuner. I didn't even realize what that done until now. So I'm going to get out of there. And guitar, that's where you can tune each individual string. Bass is the same thing, and the rest of that tuning just kind of goes along with that. You got a metronome, you know, everybody has a joke on their drummer, you know, so it's good for them. A-B repeat I have not used. You get a little mixer control in here. Now if I go in and actually, there we go in, now you can actually go through and set your, I believe this is just setting your input levels here and going through your different mixing. Oop, here we go. Yeah, I haven't really used it a whole lot, to be honest. It might be more useful as a mixer. I personally don't like to use this as a say a field recorder because it's just too hard to mix with. Just get you an F4, F8, or one of the many sound devices, one of those mixers, because it's going to be a lot easier. There's too many things to go through. Play mode, I don't even know if I've got. Okay, yeah, that's just a normal play mode, like on anything there. Your system. Now this did have some options in here that I wanted to go over. Obviously your date and time, backlight, contrast. Now you have your battery option here, which is kind of unique here. Your alkaline, or you know, if you have rechargeable, so that's kind of useful. I found that kind of neat. And it just tells you your version of software. You got a factory reset in there. And if you're a filmmaker, you definitely know about factory resets on your mixer. You know, somebody gets into your mixer and changes all kinds of things. You just want to go back and factory reset it. Okay, now down to the SD card. Go in here. I almost forgot. Oh, it was the formatting option. Of course, if you want your card to work the best in that device, you're going to want to go ahead and format it, you know, right within. That's the way I've always done it. Now your USB, you have a mini USB on the side here, and I believe that's to control you know, probably transferring files. There's a way to do that. We're going to get out of that. Hopefully I can back out of that option without anything. Now, it's disconnecting, but you can set your USB, that way it can be any sort of input or output device, you know, and it can work with your computer. Now that goes over most of the things that are in here. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. The mode. So that is actually one of your more important things, your mode. Your recording mode, you can mix it, everything that's recording out of this. If you select one of these buttons or all of them, you got your regular mic that's up here, and then you got your 1 and 2, which correspond to the jacks down here at the bottom. Now that will mix everything down to a single stereo track. 4-channel, pretty obvious what that's doing, and MTR, that's where the MTR is, multi-track recording. And it was really neat because you can choose 1 through 4 here, if you see those. If I go into MTR, there we go, it's loading up. Now you can actually select which tracks you're recording to. And and say I just want to record to, you know, whatever you want to record to here. You can actually select that with your 1 through 4 buttons there, which is really kind of a handy little feature. Now let's go on this side. Again, my SD slot is kind of beat up here. This has been used quite a bit, so don't mind it. It normally has a door. There's your record level, and if I push that record level, you'll see, well, it's only on, you know, like 30, but when I use that normally, these input preamps on this are pretty weak. I use it at about 85, and you'll probably find that if you set your other devices, you know, in a common area, that's probably where you're going to be at too. And I believe that's most of everything I really wanted to cover really quick on this. And that pretty much covers most of the features on this little H4N. Just a few opinions real quick. I just wanted to say it's pretty good. I mean, it's a 48 24, you know, recorder, 48 kilohertz, 24-bit, and which that's good enough for most things. I probably would not want to use it in any kind of even a decent short film if you have multiple actors, because it's going to be really hard to get everything mixed right on this. It says H4N, obviously it's mainly those 2 inputs. That's what you got. I find these 2 up here pretty useless. So if you don't want to use a boom, I guess you could get 2 actors on there, or if you used 1 boom, say, and then the other one for your wireless lapel. You know, if they're moving at all, you really need a wireless on them to get anything, you know, major on there. So I would say it's good for documentaries, interviews, things like that. Or if you have just a single person in a short film or something. But otherwise, I would really recommend getting a you know, at least an F4. I really wouldn't count on this to get multiple channels. I always like to have that boom backup. It really helps, and I've actually missed that when I did the COVID 2020 movie. I really wish I had the extra backup channel that I didn't have in this. So with that said, I think you can get these for a little over $100 now. Should you get the Pro, it's according to what you want. If you're a musician, you know, and you're just grabbing some sound, sure. If you're wanting to do something professional, you know, especially on a film or something like that, I would definitely go for one of the F series, or go for, you know, sound devices. And it's definitely worth mentioning that these are only going to be as good as what you're putting into them. So it's really hard to say, is this the sound? Besides all the specs, the quality of audio, is the sound good on this? Well, that's going to be up to whatever you plug into it. You know, let's just be honest there. You know, if you're plugging a, you know, $10 Clarence Stout lapel mic and plugging that in, you're probably going to have a problem. But if you're putting in at least Rode quality mics, or Sennheiser, or, you know, the ton of others that are out there, you'll probably be pretty good to go. So if you learned anything, if you liked the video, make sure you give it a like, make sure you subscribe to the channel, helps out quite a bit. I'll be coming up with some more videos. It has been a while since I've been on here. I've been on a feature film shoot, so I'll be back on. I do have a few people that are interested in me doing some reviews for them, so you'll be seeing some new products very, very shortly. Some new lighting will be coming in very shortly. See ya.